I'm going to require a little interaction out of you. So when I ask you a question, I need you to raise your hand, okay? Is that okay with you guys? Good. How many of you own a $1 million racehorse? Raise your hand if you own a $1 million racehorse. Nobody? What about a $20 dog? Anybody own a $20 dog? What about a $5 cat? Anyone own a $5 cat? Nestor owns a $5 cat. And if you owned a $1 million racehorse or a $20 dog or a $5 cat, would you keep it up half the night, smoking cigarettes, drinking booze, playing video games, and eating junk? No, of course not, right? How many of you own a $1 billion body? How many of you own a $1 billion body? Raise your hand. Some of you are questioning the fact, is my body really worth $1 billion? And I have the proof that it is. Human beings have the ability to do something that the supercomputers of the world couldn't do. If there was a computer the size of the Sears Tower, or the Willis Tower as they call it now, a computer that size, that computer could not do what you do on a consistent basis every day. And that is the ability to originate a thought or an idea. So let me ask you again. How many of you own a $1 billion body? Good. Now you've got to be before you can do, and you've got to do before you can have. And part of being is preparing yourself. If I'm an athlete, I want to have what athletes have. I have to do what athletes do. But before I can do what athletes do, I have to become something. You want to be a chiropractor and have your own practice. In order to have your own practice, you've got to do something along the way. But before you do something along the way, you had to become a chiropractor. So I'm going to need some help here because I got the whiteboard out and I thought I would use it. Be, do, have. So, a professional athlete. Let's just talk about an NFL football player. I like the NFL. I like football. Give me some of the things that NFL football players have that you find appealing.
Work ethic.
Well, that's part of B, but we're talking about the have. I'm talking about
Size. Athletic prowess.
well, they do have speed. What about some material things? Money. What else do they have? Clout, fame. In order to have that stuff, they had to do something. They had to perform on the field, right? Perform on the field. But they had to, before they could perform, they had to be something. What did they have to be? They had to be fit. They had to have mental toughness. Toughness. What else?
Discipline, talent.
Discipline, talent. They had to look good, right? In order to play good, you got to look good. Look good. And if you think that's a joke, how many of you guys, when you go out at night, you put on your gear that you're so confident in, look at yourself in the mirror, you go, man, I look good. And then what do? You walk into that bar, or you walk into that club, or you walk into that wherever, and you know you're hot. Right? You're like, yeah. Chin up, chest out. It's all part of confidence. Looking good, playing good. Can you imagine that if these guys didn't become athletes before they got on the field, what would happen? Can you imagine if Lovie Smith gets up in front of his players in the team meeting and says, you know, boys, I didn't feel like putting a plan together this week. So we're just going to go out there and we're just going to wing it. Didn't do any film study. Coaches and I, we took the first Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. We're just going to fool around in the practice facility. When we get out there, we're going to see what the Packers throw at us. And then we're going to make a decision. We'll react to what they do to us. We're not going to look at what they're doing. We're not going to prepare for them. We're not going to do nothing. That sounds a little bit silly, doesn't it? You know who's the best at the be, do, have routine? The best at it. Immigrants. Immigrants, and I'm talking legal immigrants. I'm talking immigrants that come from India, they come from China, they come from Asia, they come from they come from Europe, they come from South America, Mexico, wherever. Legal immigrants are 4 times as likely to become millionaires in America as Americans. And I always wondered why that was. When I read that, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, how is this possible? And I researched and I studied and I couldn't figure it out. And then it was all explained to me in one word by a 4-year-old little girl named Pernathi. Children have a way of explaining things to you. I own these child care centers, as they said in my introduction. And I opened one up downtown 2 years ago. Big one, nice one. And this little girl, 4-year-old girl, Pernathi, she's an Indian little girl. She comes in with her grandmother and her father and her mother. And she walks into the main entrance and sees the colors and the wall rugs and the decoration we got going on in there. And I'm doing my tour with her and her family, and I take them around and show them the technology center where we have the Mac computers and the iPads and where they do all their technological stuff. And then we make our way over to the gym center where they have the slides and the gross motor equipment that they get to spend an hour a day in. And then finally we bring her right into her classroom where she's going to be spending her days. And in her classroom she's got art supplies and she's got fine motor materials and cognitive development things and sensory tables and water tables and libraries and books and all this kind of stuff. And she explains the immigrant thing with one word. And I don't know why she did it, but she did it. She put her 2 little hands on her 2 little knees like this. And she said it all with one word. Wow. Wow. It's wow when they see it. The immigrant comes to Chicago. They leave their friends and their family and their support groups, climate and culture, and the whole schmear, and they come to Chicago. And they open up the Chicago Sun-Times. And they flip through the classified section, and they see 57 jobs available today. Some of them are paying $8 an hour. But to you, that doesn't seem like a lot of money. But to them, it's 3 days' wages. They're not going to work 8 hours a day. They're going to work 12 hours a day. They're going to live cheaply. They're going to get their education at a community college. And by the time they figure out that America has problems, it's too late. They're already successful. In 1990, the number 1 selling t-shirt in Japan was "We're number 1." In 1990, the number 1 selling t-shirt in America was "Underachiever," and proud of it. The immigrant comes to this country with a dream, with a vision, and a vision is just a clearly articulated, goals-oriented way you want your future to end up. That's what a vision is. You've got to be before you can do, and you've got to do before you can have.